afternoon or good morning, whatever time it is for you. It is 6:09 p.m. for me. I am in the Preparation Forest, State Canyon Forest thing in Iowa. About an hour and a half from Omaha, Nebraska as the SUV flies. No pipe tobacco today. It's in the car. I have a mixture that's kind of fresh, so it's not smoking the best. It would take some tendering to keep burning the whole time. So I'm just out here enjoying the fresh air as it is. I think today I'll talk about things life throws at you and absorbing the punches and stress. I suppose you could simplify it to that, but it's more than just stress. It's a simple word for a lot of things and usually has a negative connotation to it. Stress is a biological reaction to an environment or situation, and your biology doesn't react without meaning or without purpose. There's an evolution and adaptation behind how we react to things that is not our body wasting energy without reason. It doesn't do that. Nothing does that without reason. So with that in mind, you need to think of stress or anxiety, things of that nature, similar emotions as gifts, because the universe gave it to you for something. So what do you do with that stress and that tension, the anxiety, the burning in you that tells you something's not right? You listen to it and see what it's telling you. There's so much distraction nowadays in noisy cities, surrounded by people, constant work, constant movement, and it's really hard to turn off and to see what your body's telling you. And often it's something simple. Have you been drinking enough water? Have you slept well or enough? Have you eaten properly? What does your body tell you it wants to eat? But once you've accomplished those simple biological needs, and there's still something there that's telling you it's wrong, oftentimes you know what the issue is. And it makes me think of the idea that if you have to ask a question and you can verbally articulate the question, very often deep down, you know the answer. Maybe the answer just scares you. It's funny and embarrassing often. You will ask someone a question, and as soon as they start to speak, you go, oh man, I knew that. Why am I even wasting your time? I knew that. I could have just sat in silence a little bit longer and mulled through the nonsense bombarding my brain and focused on what I'm trying to accomplish, and I would have had the answer. There's a book and a movie, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and there's a ancient being that is there pondering a question, and that it's been doing for a long time. And it's just kind of playing a game with the people because the question was stupid. And a very important thing to do is find the right questions to be asking. So if you find yourself in that tension with whatever issue you're facing, whether or not the issue has a face or a name or an identity you can put a word to, you have to find a way to get a sense for what that issue is. There's a beautiful tree behind me that I walked out here to find. And this tree has gone through some stress. show you a bit more in a second, but it was planted at some point. It doesn't know who planted it there, if there was a purpose behind it being put where it was put. But a tree can't waste its time mulling over despair and worrying about things like that. But what it looks like is the earth wasn't enough for him where he was standing. He got too strong, too tall and heavy for the dirt to support him. I'm actually standing in a bit of a ravine, I suppose you could say. It's dry right now, but there must have been a good rain that removed some support it needed, and it fell. And it definitely hurt this tree. There's some branches over here that are definitely dying. But also above me is this beautiful golden canopy. Absolutely beautiful. And this tree found itself with the earth literally torn out from beneath him. Its support system it was relying on for so long gone. And it had to, probably wasn't even a decision for the tree. I mean, humans are a little bit more squishy emotionally, but the tree at some point found itself sideways, literally and metaphorically, and it recognized what it could do in its situation, which was go upwards. And this tree won't ever be as strong, as proud as the trees around it, but also you're going to have a hard time to a degree pushing this tree over again. It doesn't have a ton of support. It can move. There's not much support down there, but what it does have is a friend right here. Another beautiful tree. I don't quite know what species of trees these are. I'm not as learned as I should be in identifying these. But it's got a support system. It's got a friend it's relying on. And someday he may fall too. But what it can do with the time in between now and then, in between the next wave of water that might tear out its support system of the earth, it gets a little bit stronger every day. Just a little bit. And I'm sure most people have seen or know of the rings of growth inside a tree. Layers of seasons, of years of hardship that make it just a little bit stronger each time. And people are like that too. We have a year. Could be a rough one. You could lose some branches that are meaningful to you, some support that makes you fall over. But the next season, that's healed a bit. The next day, even though almost invisible and immeasurable, it's healed a little bit more. And through repetition of continuing to try, you get to a point where you're a tree that no one can push over anymore, because you've had that, you've experienced that, and you're that much stronger for it. And while you might not be indestructible, you become a serious force to be reckoned with. If you had never been through any hardship, you lived in a bubble, a mosquito could come by and you would be done. Demolished by whatever that mosquito has. Just found a beautiful little caterpillar on that flower. They've got a crazy life, caterpillar to a butterfly. And that makes me think of something else. I don't recall or have absorbed all the biological technical jargon regarding the metamorphosis from a caterpillar to a butterfly, but they have essentially proven that The butterfly retains memories from its life as a caterpillar, which is bananas to me, but at the same time makes sense. We have things in our blood that are from our ancestors who were hard survivors, hardened, monstrous, beautiful people that life wasn't able to knock down. And there's things in our blood that our ancestors are telling us that they found so important that they became ingrained in our identity or genetics. And an example of that is you can have chickens living generation to generation inside a box, and you can throw a paper airplane over them, an actual airplane, a box. You can just throw stuff over them, they won't care. But if you have a hawk fly over top, they will go crazy, because deep down, something about the hawk terrifies them. They know that's an issue. And with humans, it's stuff, I suppose, like spiders, mushrooms, mold. There's something about us that just gets weirded out about it. Mushrooms are a whole nother rabbit hole. There's some beautiful mushrooms over here I'll go look at. Mushrooms are definitely a rabbit hole. We have more in similarities to a mushroom than a plant. He's right here. But not sure where I was going. I was talking about biological memory being passed through blood without words being spoken, which is a crazy thing. Our ancestors were warriors, survivors, builders, wise, weathered humans that had fallen before, that had had limbs torn off, branches broken, deep scars that you can't always heal from. And each child that bared that memory and passed on that strength got us to the point where we're getting a little carried away with our gifts and our abilities, to the point where we're being bombarded by constant movement and expansion, and not always high quality expansion. A lot of the things we work ourselves away for to purchase and build and obtain don't have much depth to them, unfortunately. Whereas a tree, day by day, year by year, decade by decade, continually works on itself to the point where it's so solid. The force that would knock some of these trees down is almost inconceivable. I didn't see any around here, but there are some oak trees out here that are just behemoths, just giants, ancient trees. And this isn't even that old of a forest. I'm in Iowa, which is the lowest hills area. This dirt and soil was made by glaciers slowly inching across the land, grinding rock into dust and powder, which eventually became the powdery dirt that's all around here. It's got a specific color to it. It's a very clean looking dirt. And this whole place was created by the massive, incalculable weight and stress of a mountain of ice crunching it. And out of it came just this beautiful place. And as humans, we have to move with the change. If there's a glacier crashing through your place, you're gonna have to move. You will have to adapt. A tree can't move. He has to work with what he's given, reach upwards constantly. I used to say that my religion is the same as the trees. And I mean that in more of a spiritual sense than a religious sense, but I say the word religion because it kind of ruffles some feathers. But a tree doesn't need to waste time worrying about, oh, spider web. worrying about why he was planted where he was. All he does is work on himself, sometimes supporting the tree next to him and moving forward and being at peace. And I always thought trees were beautiful, peaceful looking things, but recently I heard someone compare them to here's another tree that's dying, but still trying. There's some leaves on these branches still, but the fungus is beginning to take over. He's starting to lose his battle, but he's trying. But anyway, someone was saying that when someone sees a tree, most people see this peaceful, ethereal being at rest. But he said he didn't see it that way, and another person had told him how he felt about trees. He sees violence in the sense that he sees one entity, one plant, that stole the surrounding nutrients from the others next to him, destroyed the other plants next to him, and took his place in the earth. So sometimes, even though you may look like a peaceful being, that's built on blood and destruction. And that stress is that destruction, or your body telling you that you needed to destroy something, to change, to move somewhere else, to take what you need from somewhere else, to continue building yourself. That doesn't mean backstabbing people, but like our ancestors knew, sometimes violence was necessary. And our muscles and our bones themselves, our bones are strengthened through continuous pressure. Our joints, continuous pressure strengthens them. Eventually it'll wear them down and it can't sustain it, but it does strengthen them if you're taking care of them properly. And in your muscles can go through something called hypertrophy. You tear them. You literally force them to rip. Not to the point where you're injured, and that's about finding balance, but to the point where you're pushing your body and telling it you need to be capable of this. If not, you will die. And you will truly die. Inside or physically as a being, you will die if you are not pushing yourself to be what it needs to be. I have a peaceful kind of blankness on my mind right now. Not sure what else to speak on, but I appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping in and looking at what I'm looking at. There's a tree over there that has split in half. He's not doing too good, but he's still got green leaves also. He's trying. I think the lesson to be learned over here is look for a support system. If you've fallen, well, it's hard to fall much farther. He can fall a little bit farther. He's got a little room over there. He could fall. He could lose a little bit more grip over here, but his roots are still in the earth. He's still eating and breathing, and he's doing all right. If he continues and reaches across here through his damaged branches, if he can reach through that, there are some living branches over there. If this falls a little bit more and rests on the floor and he's still connected over here, he's gonna be almost indestructible. And part of reducing stress and your anxiety for things is realizing that if you push through what's in front of you, God help whatever's standing in front of you, because you're just gonna roll over it like it's nothing. You will become a true monster. Not in a bad sense, but in the sense that you will be stronger than not everyone that's around you, but a lot of what's around you, you will be stronger than. And unfortunately, you do have to look to focus on yourself mostly, but Look around you and see where other people are failing. Make a decision not to fail in that way. And then once you've made a plan, once you realize that if you add some support here, you grow a certain direction, you will be so solid. And that creates a peace. Once you know, if I head in this direction, accomplishing these things, I will be a beast. I will be rock solid. Then even though the problem's still ahead of you, you know what's on the other end, and then you're really at peace. And that, in turn, as a byproduct, creates happiness. Because you know the path you're on, it is probable to lead you to a peaceful, solid place. And I have another video out there talking about happiness, but I didn't say in that one that happiness is I was going to say it was a piss poor pursuit, but happiness is really a horrible pursuit to have. There's a nice movie out there, Pursuit of Happiness, and in the Declaration of Independence, they say, man has the right to a pursuit of happiness. And you do have the right, go for it. But happiness is in the pursuit. It's knowing that you're chasing that animal and you've set a trap and you know on this path you're going to get what you're after. And then there's this excitement, this anticipation, pure happiness. Once you get it, yeah, sure, you're going to be happy when you accomplish what you were running after, but then it's on to the next meal. And if you haven't thought past that, if you're not playing at a high level, thinking ahead, once you accomplish that next goal, then you're sitting there wondering what next, versus enjoying the pursuit, enjoying the happiness along the trip. So lean into your stress, but know where you're heading. Be aware of why you're stressed and enjoy the ride. Be strong, become a monster. Become the good man. And the good man is not a harmless man. He's a very dangerous man that has it voluntarily under control. I like to think I'm a dangerous man, therefore making me a good man. And I know deep down I am dangerous to myself and to the environment around me if I were to lean into that. But that darkness pushes me to keep going forward, to become the stronger good man. And if you look at yourself, you know you are capable of deep, deep evil, deep destruction. And you can't go that way. I'm 23 minutes, 25 seconds in, longest video yet. I would appreciate comments. Love to hear your thoughts on anything. If you've made it this far, good for you for slowing down for a second to listen to someone, whether or not you agree with everything I've said. It's impressive that you can slow down and absorb something outside of the chaos. And go take a walk. Think about your own things. Think about what's ahead of you. Be the above average chess player. Don't think 2 moves ahead or 1 move ahead. Think 8 to 12. A grandmaster chess player thinks 12 moves ahead, roughly. That's crazy. If you're thinking that far ahead, the next bump in the road doesn't bother you too much, because you know if you sidestep it, you've got that other thing lined up. Then you're peaceful and you can enjoy the ride. Goodbye.